Hi, I'm going to show you my ideation agent. As mentioned in the article, I use this agent as a sparring partner. So I definitely do not want to outsource my ideation process or my thinking to an LLM. LLMs will just spit out copies of ideas that have been done before. So this agent that I built very much focuses on gathering the right level of context, understanding the frame for decision making. So it tries to get the right context to understand what parameters are important to decide whether an idea is a good idea. And it very much forces the user to first give their own ideas that they came up with all on their own. So it's definitely meant as a sparring partner that comes in after you've spent some time thinking about the opportunity by yourself and after you've come up with a few first ideas yourself. I started with a prompt, which is this one, which kind of outlines the flow. I'm not going to walk you through this because I will show you how it works in the end. So what I did, I started with this prompt, I put it into Claude Code in Windsurf, and it wrote me the agent in Python. And now I'm going to run it in my terminal. Here we are. Okay. Let's start. Ideation agents. Let's generate innovative solutions for customer opportunities. Okay, first question, let's understand the opportunity we want to address, right? What pain points, wish or desire are we trying to come up with solutions for? So I have this one. I already prepared something over there. AI tools along the product development lifecycle feel disconnected. Product managers feel like context mules, copy-pasting things over, and context get lost in the process. Okay, it's going to ask me some clarifying questions. The first one, who is experiencing this? So I'm going to copy paste this over. Product managers at scale-ups using multiple AI tools like Figma AI, Claude Code, Cursor, V0, Lovable. So describe as concretely as possible who's experiencing that problem. In which context? Is there like a specific task where this happens? Not really. It's kind of something that happens during the entire product development lifecycle. How frequently does it arise? Okay, I'm going to skip this one. What's the impact when it isn't resolved? I have two pieces. AI tool fatigue. Product managers are just exhausted. And also context getting lost in the shuffle. Any other important context or details, I'm going to skip it for now. All it's trying to do is to build a more complete product understanding. Now it's giving me a summary. Yes, sure, that's fine. Okay, now describe your ICP. So it has three options. You can either just type it directly or you can just provide it to a file. Most of the time I'll have a second brain for the project that I'm working on or the company that I'm working with, and I will have a file or a folder that talks about the ICP. In this case, I'm just going to type it directly. Let's continue. What's the product vision and strategy? Here, I'll just actually do that. I will actually provide the file path. Let's put it here. Let's do this one. It's not great. Oh wait, let me do this one. Let's point it here. Okay. Product category. I'm going to type it directly. Let's say AI native workspace. Okay. What's the number one product metric that we're trying to drive by addressing this opportunity? This one's very important. If we don't know this, later on I will tell the agent which parameters are important for decision making, what makes a good idea. And to me, a good idea is an idea that is likely to address the opportunity very well and that is likely to in the end move my product metric, the thing that I'm actually trying to drive. This very much comes from this idea of working in an outcome-based way. So we start with, okay, what is actually the metric that we're trying to drive? What opportunities, what customer pain points are likely to drive that metric? So if we solve this problem, that will likely lead to X. So I'm trying to make that bridge here. Later, if we say, okay, we want to have an impactful idea, it needs to know impact on what, right? So that's kind of where this metric comes in. I'm going to type it directly. This is a bad metric that I'm going to give because it's actually a business metric, but I'll do it anyway. I'll say day 2 user retention. we've noticed pretty steep drop off from day 1 to day 2. So that's a very important one. I want something that naturally brings people back into the product on day 2. Okay, are there any areas where you don't want to play or any other important constraints? I think this is very important in general. For example, for us, we also looked at other areas, other ICPs, and there were decisions made of like, okay, we do not want to be in the observability space, or we do not want to play in this space, or maybe there's some constraints. For example, it has to work with a PLG motion and it cannot be enterprise sales, or some kind of constraints. If you have something like that, you should put it in. I'm going to skip it for now because I'm lazy. And then it says, okay, what are the criteria for evaluating ideas? There's some default criteria here, which are the ones that I usually use. You can also write your own. I'm going to go with these ones. So it's like important impact on the number 1 product metric, confidence in that impact, is it hard to implement, and the level of innovation. And now in the next question, it will ask me how I should weight these parameters. So for me, very important is the impact on the product metric. The confidence can be a bit lower because I'm still going to test anyway. Implementation effort, I don't care so much. Level of innovation, yeah. It's a bit random here, but I need to give it this frame for decision making. This kind of gives it something to understand what a good idea looks like. Then would you like to review competitors or alternatives or other interesting players for inspiration? I'm going to be lazy here, no, but it's quite nice to also look at tools in other product categories or even different domains to get more inspiration. Then it's going to ask me for some example ideas. I pre-prepared ones. I did this because I want to force the user to first think on their own without the help of an LLM and come up with some good ideas on their own. Because if we instantly throw a problem into an LLM and let it generate ideas, we bias ourselves, we anchor ourselves in these ideas, and we kind of cut off our own creativity. So I really want people to start with their very own creativity and feed that in, and then have the LLM take over as a sparring partner, but not as the main creative person, non-person in the mix. Because AI, it just kind of rehashes training data in the end, right? It's doing this in a very creative way. It can come up with very great ideas, but I wouldn't want to cut out my own creativity at first. So here are 3 ideas. I think they're not bad. I won't go through them. Okay, now I'm going to stop. Here it goes. There's still some debugging there. Okay, here we are. It spat out a bunch of ideas. Let's see if it's any good. A whole bunch. Okay, idea. Great, so there's like scoring, estimated impact on high day and day 2 retention, the magic. Estimated impact. So did a pretty good job, I think, at generating ideas. I'm not going to go through them all with you. But for me, this is a very good way to help me kind of get unstuck, right? Because I will read one of these ideas. It might not be exactly what I want, but it might help me come up with new ideas. So in the end, it's not like I'm going to copy paste these ideas over, even though maybe some of them are that good that I will. But it's more to help me get unstuck. So I can use this agent as a sparring partner. But definitely not to outsource my own creativity. So I will push this also to my GitHub, so that if you want, you can fork it, you can modify the agent as you see fit. I will also post a link to my Notion page where you can see the initial prompt that I started with. So you can even just build your own from scratch, or you can fork mine as you like.